Hey, chess friends. I wanted to share a nice game with you. I started out with black, and on move 3, I had the advantage. And I held it all the way till move 65. So, this can show you a nice accurate way to play the Sicilian against the bishop c4 line. So he did play bishop to c4. I like this variation because there's a million ways to take advantage of that. Maybe knight c6, knight a5. That's one way, hitting the bishop. Another way maybe with a6 and b5. Another way e6 and d5. So anyways, I don't see that as a huge threat, but it does put immediate pressure on f7. It's got a little venom, and this position's been reached several times. It's not like white has a disadvantage, but it gives black some cool ideas. So I played my knight out, and after this move right here, he never had the advantage again. And I'm not saying this move is a blunder by any means. Gives the bishop a place to go if he gets harassed too much. But it's a little unambitious. Kind of wastes time. And in the Sicilian, black likes to play on the queen side, so any pawn moves here on the queen side should be played with caution from white. So I get my knight out. Great square for the knight. You never want to allow him to kick it with e5 with tempo, so you always want to play that knight out there first, in general. Now he plays d3, I play d6, hoping to get my bishop out before I end up playing e6, as I often do. And now he hits the knight. Here's a strategic point. I need to decide, will I allow doubled pawns? It's not the worst. It's not so terrible, but I had a nice position. He hasn't been playing too quickly. He's been playing slow and positionally. So I may as well just maintain my pawn structure and not give him anything on my king side to really target. And this light squared bishop is gonna get liberated at some point. It's got a bright future. As a French player, I don't mind having it a little bit behind. I'm used to playing positions where my light squared bishop blossoms later in life. So he plays his knight here, d2. Black's got a wonderful game out of the opening. A lot of natural moves. I just played h6, put in question to the bishop. He decides to keep the pin. Not a terrible decision at all. That bishop is less flexible from this square. I can basically force it off the board at any time with g5 and then knight h5. Just something to keep in mind. I unpin immediately. Where else am I going to put that bishop? After playing h6, I'm not necessarily going to fianchetto. So that would create too many pawn moves around my king, too many weaknesses. So he played his bishop over here. Basically, I don't know, he didn't want me to win that tempo with g5. I wasn't going to play it. It's a little early for something like that, but... And here comes d5. Bang. My favorite move as black, when I can finally play d5. And since the bishop came here to c4, it comes with great effect, because I've got plenty of defense on that square. He can't really take the pawn and expect to keep it, to win it or anything, so he's going to lose a tempo. I recapture with the pawn, and he backs up all the way to a2. Now bishops on a2 and on h7 respectively, they can be good. That's a nice diagonal to be on quite often. But that gives black a new strategic option. Black can just keep that bishop out of the game with his pawns, or in this case with my pawns. And I just played my bishop out now, finally, get some breathing room. Knight out. And here, I played an interesting move. b5. My point is, I want to control this c4 square. I don't want this bishop to get liberated at any time with a bunch of pawn moves. So I'm going to try to control these points here. And his pieces are a bit clumsy now. Look at Black's wonderful coordination. These knights controlling the 5th rank, or from White's perspective, the 4th rank. Queen can enter the queen side at his will. Light squared bishop is out here. The light squared pawn in the center isn't restricting his prospects. So that's pretty cool. This is a good point for the bishop. Can even retreat if necessary. He castles. I castle. My dark square bishop is playing an important role at controlling c4. So, I mean, he doesn't have any immediate points to attack c4. I mean, c5, mind you. But I love when we have these pawns here, you know, up in white's face saying, hey, guess what? I'm taking up a lot of space. And it's nice to have the pieces protecting those pawns instead of other pawns. So it allows you to be more aggressive, take more space. He plays his queen over. Maybe at some point wanting to play c4. We'll see. By the way, I don't think that move was particularly good. It kind of makes you wonder what this rook over here on a1 is doing. And I decide to play my knight over here, hitting that bishop. The bishop can't be saved. There's no square it can go to. I could have played that for several other moves as we scroll back, you see. But, no rush here. This knight was, well placed anyway. So, I played my knight over. And, ooh, b3. This move was a positional mistake. Doesn't lose any material. But surprisingly enough, if we count the material, 7 pawns each, 7 pieces each. Nothing came off the board yet. And even though the material's even, I have a 2.5 pawn lead according to the computer. So very instructive way to get the advantage, even though you didn't win material. Now here it's just kind of shut down on this bishop. It's a shutdown. That bishop's not going anywhere. And he plays a4 instead of taking the pawn, which probably would have been better, but either way, black would have had an advantage. Why would it have been better, you say? Well, if pawn takes, I can just snap the bishop off, take with the pawn, and the bishop is still wintered over here. Now my pawn structure isn't as healthy. I think that's why the computer prefers that line. But either way, it's tough to play for white without that bishop. So yeah, I still take off the bishop after a4. And I've got the bishop here. I play bishop to f6 with tempo. And now this bishop pair is wonderfully controlling the center, along with these pawns here, controlling the queen side. And my opponent, after I get my rook over, my opponent's playing for the attack. Now this move here, I'd consider it to be not dangerous. The point is, he reveals an attack on this bishop, but I just back it up. He gets his other knight into play, and that's his first material blunder. You guys see a winning move for black? Or at least a move that wins material for black? You guessed it, g5. So he takes with the knight. What else? Probably a good practical decision to at least open up an attack on my king. After taking back, the queen moved. Black's got a commanding lead. There's no way white's coming back from this. Black's got an obvious advantage, but white can still play for the attack. f7's weak. My king's weak. But my pieces are well placed. They can easily come into play. So I play my bishop out, hit the king with tempo. King has to move. King's in the corner here. It's not going to be running away if I ever open it up. But it won't be so easy to punch through, considering that he has the f-file. So let's see how this happens. Pawn forward, just cementing this structure here. And he plays his knight out, trying to exploit my position somehow. I back the bishop up. I don't want to, drop the nice dark squared bishop. Now his queen comes into play, attacking f7. And he really wants to create complications, So attacking the king is really all he has. I was ready to play my knight here, defending the pawn and hitting the queen. He backs up. Mobilize my queen. After the pawn push, I just take the knight, because if he wants to take that and triple his pawns, be my guest. Queen takes back, queen takes, and the bishop goes back where he belongs. Now the opponent has a rook in the center with no attack on my king. This is just a recipe for disaster. And I move my king up. Decide to get my rooks active. Basically any plan here wins. I just kind of activate my pieces. He shuffles his bishop around, floundering essentially. I play my rook over now, basically forcing the trades. He takes, I take, and he moves that rook over. So now this f-file's mine. King over. Knight check, king down, fork. So I went over those moves kind of quickly, but the point is, this game's been over for a long time. And this is just the technique. And I'm in time pressure. I'm essentially pre-moving, but that's okay because it's an easy position to play. I have like a minute on the clock at this point. So I'm just pre-moving, taking all his pawns. And then he takes mine. I sack the rook for this pawn. And we queen and win. So I know I probably had a mate earlier, but, you know, with 30 seconds on the clock, you don't calculate mates, you just play winning moves. So there we go. Move 65, checkmated. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you got something out of it. Excellent opening, instructive middle game, and the end game, well, that was a shutdown. See you guys later.